I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking about a fantastic book. It is called Jonathan and the Sacred Scarab. So it begins. It's written by an amazing author. His name is James Bowlby. This thrilling adventure follows young Jonathan, who dreams of becoming an Egyptologist like his dad, only to be thrust into a dangerous quest filled with ancient gods and hidden secrets after discovering a mystical scarab. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing this wonderful book. The links are below this interview. James, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here too.
This is quite a tale you tell. It's very imaginative, very creative. Let's start out by giving the folks at home an overview of what the book is about.
Well, it's a journey actually. It's about a young fellow who goes to Egypt with his dad, who's an Egyptologist, and they're hit by a sandstorm, and the Jeep is blown off the road. Jonathan's dad, Dr. Johnson, has to be taken to the hospital. So they put Jonathan to work in a tomb. And when he's working in the tomb, he finds a scarab. And when he rubs the scarab, he brings up the god Khepri. Now, Khepri is an interesting god in Egyptology. He is purple. He has a black beetle face, like a mask. And the idea of Khepri is the beginning, to begin, to appear. And so the Egyptians believed that the sun was something that had to be rolled across the sky. So the beetle rolls dung balls, and they said, "Oh, that's just like the sun." So the people believed that the beetle was connected to the rising sun, the beginning of the day. Well, that's it was sort of, I didn't actually think ahead. I'm a bit of a pantser, so I don't know if you know that term. So a pantser is somebody who doesn't plot out their whole novel. Right. They just start writing it, and so things happen and things happen. Right. They seated their pants is where it comes from.
Gotcha.
So I'm a pantser, and after I got this going, I thought, yeah, Jonathan is beginning. He's a kid, and then when we get to the first chapter of the book, because that's just the prologue, he's just graduated from high school, and he's beginning his life, and he's thinking about what he wants to do, and going to go to university, and even it's at Vancouver. He thinks maybe he'll go to university, and then his mother comes out of her office, and she's really upset. She's just got an email saying that her husband is missing in Egypt. They don't know where he is. They don't know how it happened. So Jonathan thinks this is crazy because his father's working with a whole group of people. Somebody must have seen him, but they didn't. So Jonathan and his best friend Nathan both go to Egypt. They fly to Cairo, and they are confronted by the staff at the dig where his father was working, and nobody knows where he went. So Jonathan gets really annoyed. He says, somebody must have seen something. Right. So then this young Egyptian fellow says, oh yeah, I saw two guys shove Dr. Johnston in a van, and it was a dark van. So the whole story sort of goes on with them tracing the van to Sinai, that big province of Egypt, which is next to all that conflict that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And so they realized that Dr. Gorman, who was a threat to Jonathan earlier in the book, used to work in Sinai. So they go to where they thought Dr. Gorman might be working, and he might have kidnapped Jonathan's dad. So that's sort of how the story goes from event to event. I'm a bit of a I'm a writer who goes from event to event. I'm sequential is the word I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
I don't just sort of sort of say, oh well, this is all that's going to happen, and then one sequence is finished, and then the next one just happens to come along, right?
Right.
So Jonathan and Nathan have a series of adventures in Egypt, and the climax of the book is kind of, well, it's kind of sad. Jonathan's friend and he are working with his dad in a pyramid that belonged to an Egyptian queen. Well, there isn't any word for queen in Egypt. Egyptian. The Egyptians never had a hieroglyph that was for queen. They always called the wife of the pharaoh the great royal wife. So anyway, it is her tomb that they're looking in, and there's an earthquake and the tomb collapses, and Nathan is hit by a block of granite that falls.
Mm-hmm.
So Jonathan doesn't know what he's going to do. So he takes the scarab and he rubs it, and they go into the past because he figures he can get help in the past from the gods if that's possible, but he doesn't know. And then the great royal wife of a pharaoh comes, and she has met with Nathan before. She thinks he's a wonderful guy, and she grabs a hold of a pendant that he found, and she holds his hand. She holds the scarab, and Jonathan is given a wasp scepter, and together they sort of pray, and then she yells, "Reborn," and he comes back to life.
Amazing. It's a great story. Are you an Egyptologist? It seems like you know so much about the workings over there.
Well, I've been to Egypt twice.
Okay.
So that's helpful. And then I've done an awful lot of reading. And I was looking before I was coming to talk to you about how much easier it is to do research today.
Oh yeah.
Than it was years ago. Because one of the things I did in a previous life was I wrote plays for a museum, but it's a park, and people go there and they go through the museum, and then they go to see a play in the woods. It's really quite neat.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so I wrote a series of plays for them about people who had lived in this area and done great things. But at that time, trying to get research was incredible.
Oh yeah.
I had a diary that I had to translate. I could barely even read the diary. It was so badly written, poorly written.
Yeah.
But anyway, today you can, like when I'm working on something, if I want to check on a facts, I just punch it in the computer. That comes
Exactly. You can read about it. You can watch a video
Right.
about it. You can see documents about it. It's amazing the age we live in. Now, your book to me has an Indiana Jones feel to it a little bit. Have you envisioned this as a movie or a TV series, perhaps?
Well, I've had that mentioned to me a couple of times. Why doesn't somebody make a movie of this?
Yeah.
And the other thing that people have suggested is it might be a great video game.
Yeah.
Jonathan and Nathan are characters that are being scared by the gods Sketh or Zet, and they have to try and get out of a situation or something.
Yeah. No, I
So
think it'd be terrific whether it's a TV series, movie, or video game, and they seem all to go hand in hand nowadays. Certainly, a lot of movies are born out of video games as well, and it's got a great title, and it's got a great character, and I think it would be terrific. Tell us a little bit about the scarab in your story and its connection to the god Khepri.
right. Well, when Jonathan is put in the tomb to keep his mind off his father, he digs down in the dirt in this little tomb. They give him a little place to work, and he finds this box, and the box is a wooden box, and it's basically deteriorated because boxes don't do too well in the dirt,
Yeah.
wooden boxes, but it's held together by gold straps. So Jonathan digs this out, and inside is a sheet of papyrus.
Mhm.
And wrapped up in the papyrus is a scarab. And Jonathan takes the scarab out and he rubs it. And when he rubs, because it's all dirty, so he rubs the dirt off it, and Khepri, the god, appears. And he tells Jonathan, "I will be your protector." And then just after he says that, then the god Set appears. And Set was the god of chaos and turmoil and earthquakes and disasters like that. And Set bangs his glass scepter, and there's an earthquake, and this block falls on Jonathan's foot. So then the story continues. They have to get Jonathan out of there.
Amazing, amazing scene, that's for sure. And like I said, it does have that Indiana Jones feel with scenes like that. Although this, albeit this is very, very original. Is this going to be part of a series? Is there going to be more of
Yeah,
Jonathan and the Sacred Scarab?
I actually have the second novel just about finished, and it's called Jonathan and the Curse of Isis.
Okay.
One of the things that's mentioned in this first book is that Jonathan is a bit of a know-it-all.
Hmm.
And, so in the second book, Isis confronts him and says, "You are too proud." So she curses him with three different things,
Hmm.
and that novel follows those three things that Jonathan has to try and cope with. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's a much better, shouldn't really say that, but I think it's a much better novel than my first one because it's so organized.
Right. Well, it's taken on a life of its own from the first novel, of course. I think that the imagery of ancient Egypt is so wonderful as well. I know I've always been fascinated by Anubis, and I've wanted to get a pharaoh hound or a Basenji because they look like Anubis, the guardian of the dead. So
Right.
there's lots of great things to work on. So you've got two books, one book done and out there, the other book ready to go. And do you envision a third installment?
Yes, and the third book, the third book's called Jonathan and the Stolen Sarcophagus. And it's just roughly that President Putin was visiting Egypt, and he went to see this sarcophagus that was in the basement in storage of the president of Egypt's palace.
Hmm.
And obviously, without anyone knowing it, Putin decided he wanted that sarcophagus. So then the story goes on. Jonathan and Nathan go to Moscow and St. Petersburg and try and find the sarcophagus.
Sounds great. Great story, great trilogy. The name of the book we focus on primarily today is called Jonathan and the Sacred Scarab. So it begins. It's written by James Bowlby. It is a thrilling adventure, and there's the book in his hand right now. It follows the adventures of young Jonathan, who dreams of becoming an Egyptologist just like his dad, but he is thrown into a dangerous quest filled with ancient gods and hidden secrets after the discovery of a mystical scarab. And you actually have a little scarab with you today, right?
Ew, yeah.
There you go. Okay, that's your good luck scarab.
Yeah,
Don't disappear after you rubbed it. James. But very, very cool. Great talking to you today. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to do it.
Good talking with you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.